Tonight, New South Wales Far West cases climb, including one new infection in Broken Hill and a 30-year-old man arrested after an alleged brawl on a Broken Hill street.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. The COVID outbreak in Far West New South Wales has now reached 91 cases. Another new infection recorded in Broken Hill today, coming with a warning there could be more people who have the virus, which health officials aren't aware of.
Infection rates slowing, vaccination rates climbing and patients recovering. There's plenty of good news in the Far West's COVID battle, but near deserted testing stations are cause for alarm.
There is traces in our sewage. I cannot encourage people enough and say go out, get retested.
Testing rates have halved in the last week, but the virus is clearly still circulating. To 8 p.m. last night, 1 new case in Broken Hill and 4 in Wilcannia. Those numbers could mean our lockdown could stay until we hit vaccination targets, even though other regional areas may be granted freedoms.
The Far West would now be part of that roadmap because of what the case numbers there. They're not going to be out of their lockdown any day soon.
Locked down and now locked out of Victoria. Broken Hill completely removed from the border bubble.
It's going to be hard to get there. Certainly there was no warning. It was very disappointing.
Entry by exemption only, non-urgent medical care not likely to meet the threshold. Drives twice as long to COVID hotspots are the alternative.
Realistically, if you can't get a telehealth assessment, then you may need to look at Griffith or Dubbo.
Staff accommodation has arrived in Wilcannia to be joined by motorhomes for locals needing to isolate.
Making sure that everybody stays in Wilcannia and stays safe.
Health officials saying Wilcannia's community effort has been vital in slowing the spread. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Meanwhile, the COVID scare in Port Augusta caused by passing truck drivers has affected more industries than expected. Local tourism and accommodation providers hoping the industry bounces back to its previous highs as soon as possible.
With a floating population of caravanners and holidaymakers, Port Augusta is crossing its fingers news of a COVID exposure site in the city does not impact tourism. Local attractions hoping any COVID stigma does not stick for long.
Look, I think any COVID scare can make people a little bit hesitant to travel or to step out of their comfort zones.
News quickly spreading across South Australia of a pair of contagious New South Wales truck drivers visiting the Port Augusta IOR and OTR service stations last week. SA Health says the truck drivers followed COVID rules, but the state has still shown great caution around the unfolding situation. With many state borders closed, the visitor centre has noticed an increase in South Australians opting to travel to Port Augusta up until the COVID scare.
We're hoping we're back on track with our good tourism numbers soon.
Local accommodation providers also worried they might feel the pinch.
It just throws everything up in the air. The long-term bookings go out the window and short-term bookings start popping up. The interstaters, they get a bit hesitant obviously, and travel restrictions stop that as well.
The industry also acknowledging that it will most likely bounce back strong.
So it actually does get a few South Australians getting out and taking options to go and do things they normally wouldn't do.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A man is facing multiple charges after an alleged incident in Broken Hill. Police were called to Patton Street at 10:30 Tuesday morning and told the man was threatening to punch a woman before he was allegedly involved in an altercation with another man. Police say he then attempted to threaten a second woman nearby. The 30-year-old accused was granted conditional bail in court yesterday to reappear later this month. A new working group will be established to address the antisocial behaviour that has been reportedly plaguing Port Augusta. The member for Stewart, the Mayor of Port Augusta and the Police Superintendent today all making the announcement.
Tackling an issue impacting the community. Announcing a new responsible communities group led by SAPOL tasked with reducing antisocial behaviour in Port Augusta.
A single committee that has accountability and oversight to provide a strategic view and direction. So we don't have agencies wandering off doing their own thing and then not feeding back.
Community leaders say spikes in antisocial behaviour have been occurring in the summertime for decades, but the 2020-2021 season was more intense than usual, with police having to cope with more people travelling down from the north and having their movements restricted by COVID-19 regulations.
Year after year, it's been left to the police and those enforcement agencies to try and arrest our way out of what is a social and health issue.
The majority of this behaviour is not what police would normally have the authority to use their powers to engage with people.
They say this is not a replacement for the City Safe program that was cancelled last year. Instead, the group aims to have better coordination between government and non-government agencies to deliver new services to the community, saying the program is not to deter short-term communities, nor to make more arrests.
Anyone that wants to visit our city is welcome to our city. What we're trying to do is make sure that people respect our city and we respect the people that come to our town.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, planned mining projects expected to generate billions of dollars in New South Wales. And experts predict a wetter than average spring for farmers across the state. Welcome back. A major highway upgrade is about to get underway, aiming to improve the safety for travellers between Whyalla and Port Augusta. 4 new overtaking lanes will be constructed on the Eyre and Lincoln highways as part of a wider regional highway upgrade project.
Making the long trip between cities safer and quicker. The state and federal governments jointly announcing 4 new overtaking lanes on the Eyre and Lincoln highways between Whyalla and Port Augusta.
I do remember being told by a number of people when I started pursuing those about 5 years ago, I had Buckleys. Well, they were already there, and now we've got another 4 coming our way. And
2 overtaking lanes, 1 each northbound and southbound, will be constructed at the B100 between the A1 turnoff and Whyalla. Another 2 also set to be constructed between Port Augusta and the Lincoln Highway turnoff. In addition, 20 kilometres of shoulder sealing will be also done on the A1.
And we've had some bad accidents, like fatalities along that section, those sections of road in the not too distant past. But we do know that the shoulder widening, and there's been a lot of that going on, and passing lanes all adds to the safety aspect of the road.
The $16 million highway upgrade is part of a larger project by the federal government to overhaul strategic routes across the country. In a statement, the Federal Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, Barnaby Joyce, saying the project will help connect regional businesses to new markets and will make linking communities easier. Whyalla's mayor praising the much-needed addition to both highways.
So it's really good news to hear that we've got some government funding to put in some more overtaking lanes here coming into Whyalla. So it's going to be great for our local residents that use the road regularly.
The member for Giles also welcoming the news.
So anything that makes our roads safer is welcome. We know we're getting a lot more caravans on the road. We've got the copper concentrate that's coming from Carrapateena.
Construction of the overtaking lanes begin this week. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
New street lights are set to be installed in Crystal Brook at the intersection of the Augusta and Goyder highways. The Infrastructure and Transport Minister Corey Wingard says he wrote to the member for Stewart, advising the works will commence in the coming months. DIT and Minister Wingard also advising a study into plans to upgrade the intersection of Venning Road and the Augusta Highway also underway. Those works expected to commence later this year. The New South Wales Mineral Council believes mining could be the key to the state's economic recovery. It says 32 mining projects currently in planning could generate almost $13 billion in capital investments. Mining projects under development in the Far West may be valued at almost $3 billion and create more than 3,000 jobs. The council says if all projects get approved, the economic boost could last for at least 2 decades. Local Eyre Peninsula company Angel Seafood has released its half-yearly results. The largest producer of certified organic and sustainable oysters in the Southern Hemisphere, revealing record half-yearly revenue figures. The company says the team has been resilient during a period of increasing change and uncertainty. The business has more than 30 million oysters on hand, putting it in a strong position to meet the high demand over the warmer months. Farmers across the mid-north can expect more rain over the coming months, with the Bureau of Meteorology forecasting a wetter than average spring. The Bureau predicting a wet and warm spring is on the way, following the wettest winter since 2016. Parts of the state could see a near 70% chance of exceeding the median rainfall for September. Meanwhile, the Eyre Peninsula has been lashed by strong winds, which developed overnight and into today. Wind gusts of up to 90 kilometres per hour are expected to hit the region. The State Emergency Service advises people to move vehicles under cover or away from trees. Alex Sykes will join us later this evening with more weather details. Stay with us after the break. Activities at the Port Lincoln Men's Shed for a week of awareness. And a Broken Hill farmer publishes a book on climate change. Hello again. It's an organisation that provides a place for people to gather, chat and build things for the community. The Port Lincoln Men's Shed, helping to build connections and camaraderie with people around the city, acknowledging a special week of celebrations.
Making a positive contribution to the community, the Port Lincoln Men's Shed, a place to feel at home.
We've got quite a number of people who come along here and we gee them up. They come along, they're a bit down, and after we get a few talks to go, we have a talk session usually about 10 o'clock each day.
Created back in 2009, there are now more than 40 members on the roll call. Team leader Bill Broughton reminding the shed door is open to everyone this Men's Shed Week.
Fronted when I'm down the street and I said, I wish we could have ladies at the Men's Shed. And I said, well, you can, come. We say, everybody's welcome.
Virtually everything in the shed has been donated. The Men's Shed then giving back to the community.
We donate our time back and give to the community, and so it's a win-win situation as far as we're concerned.
The organisation isn't just about building, fixing and tinkering, also a space to open up a conversation.
People get a lot of different things out of coming to the Men's Shed. There's guys that come here like myself to work on projects. There's people that come along just for a yarn.
Making obstacles for the Dog Obedience Club, a favourite creation for many at the shed. However, there is one thing they can't do.
The only thing we can't fix is our age.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, a Whyalla group is also celebrating Men's Shed Week, encouraging residents in the city to come down and visit. The group was recently the subject of a new documentary made by Flinders University media students to showcase the positive works being done for the community. President Brian Cope says the group provides mateship to men in the Steel City.
I know when I retired, I become sedentary. Just a bit of camaraderie. That's what the sheds are about community, camaraderie, caring for each other.
The Whyalla group participates in activities such as woodworking and restoring old computers. Men's Shed Week finishes on Sunday. Staying in Whyalla, and the city's primary school choirs have come together for an annual performance on the big stage. The combined choir's 150 students had their first show last night at the Middleback Arts Centre. This year's theme for the performance, Water is Life, with music supplied by the Festival of Music Group. The students will perform their final show tonight. A Broken Hill farmer is sharing her experience living through the millennium drought and how climate change is affecting life on the land. Anika Molesworth releasing her debut book, looking at the changes we can all make to reduce our impact on the planet.
Discussions on climate change aren't usually associated with the outback, but Anika Molesworth has seen its effects firsthand.
A lot of us are feeling the impacts of longer and more intense droughts. This means less rain falling, vegetation disappearing, water evaporating from our dams.
The Broken Hill-based scientist releasing her first book, Our Sunburnt Country.
My book takes a stroll from the paddock to the plate, right across the food system.
She says farmers are affected by climate more than most, and that has an impact on us at the supermarket.
This is why it's so important that we actually tackle climate change now, to save the food on our plates and to ensure the well-being of our communities long into the future.
Writing the book was a lockdown project for Anika, COVID restrictions making the process for her first publication even more unique.
I haven't been able to get to Sydney to record the audiobook, so I had to construct a mattress and pillow fort in a spare bedroom and do the sound recording there.
While she warns urgent action is needed, the book takes a hopeful look at our planet's future.
When we look at all the different ways that we can tackle these problems, it's actually very exciting.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll hear what's biting this weekend from our fishing experts. And Alex Sykes will join us with all the weather details. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. If you're planning to head out on your boat this weekend, let's hear from our fishing experts on what will be biting out in Gulf waters.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jaw of the North. Well, as you can see, summer's here, or it looks like summer's here anyway. Got those strong northerly winds. What that will do, that'll be a good blowout for the Gulf. You can just about bet on some good silver whiting starting to be on top of those banks on the low tides, over in the Flinders Channel, and also along the shacks on the high tides in the morning. There's still some good catches of King George whiting to be had, but they'll start to peter out now. Probably best to bag out on the squid at the moment because they'll start to move out and the crabs should start to move in. That's all we have from the Jaw of the North.
Hi, Whalers fishing tips this week. Again on the local jetty, great numbers of squid coming in early in the morning and late in the evening. There has also been a few nice sized King George whiting caught off the local jetty. Hot tip there is to fish on the right hand side of the jetty. Land based along the foreshore, there's been a few silver whiting and a few mullet and also a few small salmon trout amongst those as well. For the boat anglers, the best 2 months ahead for King George whiting, areas to target definitely south of Whyalla and over towards the eastern shoal.
Welcome another week around the Gulf fishing tips from Port Pirie. It's fantastic at the moment with this last season run on our King George whiting. The hot spots at the moment are 7th Creek, the south end of Eastern Shoal, and also around Checker Buoy. You should be able to get yourself a good feed. Don't be scared of the squid though. As I said last week, we had plenty of squid at the cross stick and also around the Checker Buoy area. So always keep your squid jag over while you're there, and don't forget to start trawling. September is a really good time for snook and all that sort of stuff, so we're getting close to that, so have a shot with that. That's all we've got this week. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, the whiting have been a little bit scattered in our local bays over the past week or so, but a few better fish have been caught from down the passage. Also deep down in the passage have been a few nice gummy sharks from the deeper holes, along with a few blue morwong when the weather allows. Down on the south coast there's still quite a few schools of salmon in the surf down there. Back in the bay off the town jetty there's been some squid early in the day, along with a few tommies and salmon trout throughout the day. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with the weekend nearly here. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and happy Thursday, everyone. As it was mentioned early in the bulletin, wild winds lashed parts of our region today with a severe weather warning issued ahead of a cool change coming in, bringing with it some calmer conditions. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta was dusty and windy and it reached 35 degrees. There were similar conditions in Whyalla where it reached 34, and Port Lincoln had a few showers and topped 28 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Port Pirie and Broken Hill were dusty and windy, reaching 32 degrees. Woodnut was a top of 30 degrees and Adelaide was partly cloudy and 31. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a band of cloud pushing across the state with a cold front and trough is generating showers across the south. Skies are clearer further east under a weakening area of high pressure. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northerly winds 20 to 30 knots, seas between 2 and 3 metres, and south to southwesterly swells 1.5 to 2.5 metres. A marine wind warning for South Australia has also been issued for the region. Showers across the region tomorrow. Port Lincoln and Woodnut both set to reach 17. Cleve showers easing and to top 16 degrees there, while at 18. Port Augusta a shower or two and 19, and Kadina is set to top 16 degrees. Port Pirie will be 17, Clare showers and 13, and Broken Hill wind easing and set to reach a high of 27 degrees. Taking Taking a look at that all-important weekend forecast now, and wet conditions across most parts on Saturday. Possible showers in Port Pirie, Kadina and Broken Hill. Port Lincoln will have a shower or two and reach 16 degrees. Port Augusta partly cloudy 18. Similar conditions in Whyalla and Woodna. Temperatures in the mid-teens and clearing up slightly on Sunday, cloudy and 15 in Port Lincoln. Port Augusta and Port Pirie both partly cloudy and set to reach 17 degrees. Early frost in Woodna to top 16, and Cooper Pedy will be a sunny 19 degrees. And a quick look to next week now, and heating up slightly. Sunny again in Cooper Pedy, 20 degrees on Monday. Partly cloudy across the rest of the region. Port Augusta set to top 19, Port Pirie, Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Woodna to reach 17, and a possible shower in Adelaide. Well, Ruby, it appears the Bureau's prediction of a wetter than normal spring is looking correct so far, with the rain forecast over the next couple of days. It's back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening and join us tomorrow with more local news. Good night.